Welcome to the channel, guys. It's AvidExpert here. So this is an opinion video, but I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on what I have to say, and I do think I have some very valid points on why people shouldn't really be complaining about Project Resistance being announced instead of, say, Outbreak or Resident Evil 3's remake or Resident Evil 8. I think those are very unfair criticisms to Capcom, and also very hypocritical to most of the perceptions people hold when it comes to the gaming industry overall. So of course this is controversial, but you know, it's going to be interesting to hear what I have to say, and I do think I have some very fine and good points, so let's get into this from the start. So I did tell people that Capcom has a general schedule that they've been keeping to, and what this means is they usually release a main numbered title, then maybe a remaster or a remake and a spin-off in between, and then go back to a main numbered title and rinse and repeat in that circle. It seems like they've been doing pretty well doing this, and that's kind of been their status quo for a while. So I did tell people to expect no remake or main numbered title, but rather a spin-off game at the moment, because again it just fits in with their schedule, and then we get Project Resistance. Now, the reason that this is a fact is actually more so than just some random thing that they decided to come up with. It's because these main numbered titles, remasters and remakes take a lot more time to develop than you would actually think. The writers, for example, take so much time creating their drafts, refining them, having them edited, blah blah blah. Then we have things like Capcom actually uses actors, you know, that they scan in, and of course that has to fit around a schedule. They have to get contracts with corporations, etc. You know, these things do take time, and of course polishing the entire game in itself, even after the rough design's been made, must take months alone. So there's so many things that go into making these games as good as they are. Each cycle of development must take at least 4 to 6 months, and then they must go through so many iterations and changes, cutting things out, adding things in, just changing some scenarios around slightly, etc, etc. This is the reason that, for example, Resident Evil 2 was such a good game. It's because we gave them the time to polish all of this out. That's why Birkin looks so beautiful, the environments are so amazing, that's why Ada has so many costume changes. Literally, the list goes on and on. All of these little things, they all take time, as I said, and that's what makes a beautiful, well-crafted game. So when people are asking for Outbreak 3, if they're asking for Resident Evil 3's remake, or I've actually seen some people wanting Resident Evil 8 to continue on right after Resident Evil 7, and maybe even include Ethan as a character, which I was surprised to read so many people saying that. I thought a few people would, but a lot of people have that opinion. And of course, if any of these things are going to come to fruition, do you want them rushed within a year? The same year that Resident Evil 2 came out? Do you want Ubisoft to basically have become so influential that Capcom starts copying their design model? Would you want these beautiful games that you guys have desired for so many years to literally be rushed out on a yearly basis, with most of the work obviously having to be outsourced to third-party corporations at that point? Because at that point, you guys have literally created a hypocritical mindset. You guys have complained about companies like Ubisoft, EA, and now even companies like Treyarch literally just reproducing the same crap over and over and over, or handing these IPs to third-party corporations that do an absolutely abysmal job. So why would you want that for one of the most beloved franchises, and as I've made a point many times before, one of the last flagships in the actual horror genre? There's not many AAA horror games left. Do you want one of the last big companies producing them to start stagnating? Because I think quality comes over quantity any day of the year. And I absolutely love the horror genre. This is probably not a good thing, but even as a small kid, I grew up with the horror genre. Yeah, that's definitely not a good thing, by the way. I don't advise that. But I did. And because of that, I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the experiences, how much meticulous thought has to go into them over the average game, how much excellent writing has to be there. You really have to make a beautiful universe for a horror game to actually appeal. But honestly, there isn't many AAA devs, as I said, left. Even Tango Gameworks and The Evil Within, which was one of the most recent and beautiful IPs to come out of the entire industry, has sold so abysmally that The Evil Within 3 has basically been put on the side burner in lieu of Ghostwire Tokyo, which again could be an interesting IP, but I would have much preferred The Evil Within 3 honestly. And again, this just shows that Capcom with Resident Evil has one of the last safe havens left, and AAA development and the games they produce is obviously vastly different, and you get a much longer playtime and experience as well as retention to the game than indie games can push, which are usually just 1 to 2 hour experiences at most. So I'd like you to consider these points. Do you really want Capcom going down a bad route? Because if so, the horror genre as a whole could be in big trouble, and that's something you really have to think about. Let me know what you think in the comments below about none of these titles being listed this year. Do you think that's a good thing, a bad thing? Do you agree with my points? Do you disagree? Or maybe do you just have some entirely new point that's irrelevant to anything? I'd like to hear that too. But for now, as always guys, I just hope you're having a beautiful day. Take it easy and peace.